Good afternoon. I'm Greg Hart, Chair of the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors. This press conference is broadcasting on County TV Channel 20 and the county's YouTube page. The meeting is being interpreted in American Sign Language by Kim Rich, and Carlos Saraceda is interpreting the press conference in Spanish. His interpretation will be available on the county's webpage and YouTube channel shortly after we conclude this press conference. So much has progressed in the past few days that it is almost breathtaking. Last Friday, the city of Santa Barbara created a new pedestrian mall on State Street to allow restaurants and businesses to expand their operations into the public right-of-way. The County of Santa Barbara has also created a simple process for businesses in the unincorporated parts of the county to expand their operations into the public right-of-way. Local residents and visitors were out this weekend enjoying these new opportunities to socialize, dine, and shop. Early reports from all over the county, from Carpinteria to Solvang to Santa Maria, indicate substantially increased business activity over the holiday weekend. Our local economy is coming back to life. Nearly 1,200 local businesses have already self-certified through the county's website that they are safely ready to open. Tens of thousands of local residents are rejoining the workforce. Many restaurants and retail stores were doing brisk business over the holiday weekend. Gasoline sales are reported to be back to nearly 70% of pre-COVID-19 levels. On Monday, Governor Newsom announced new state guidelines that will once again allow in-person services for all faith-based organizations. The County of Santa Barbara immediately issued a public health order to implement the governor's new guidance. All faith-based religious organizations are now authorized to resume smaller-scale in-person services at their place of worship with safe operating procedures. Local residents will once again be able to pray in person at their church, synagogue, temple, or mosque. Yesterday, Governor Newsom announced that hair salons and barbershops can also reopen across the state of California. The local public health order to implement this guidance was issued yesterday evening. To the relief of many significant others, roommates, and parents, hair salons and barbershops have now reopened. I heard this morning stylists around the county are feverishly preparing to open. They are bracing to fix do-it-yourself haircuts and colorings gone wrong. I know many people in our community are eager to get a hair appointment. I wish I still needed to get a haircut. Yesterday, the county's new public health order requiring face coverings in businesses, shared workplaces, while waiting in line, while traveling on public transportation or in ride-sharing services went into effect countywide. This important new protective measure is timed to support the reopening of more local businesses and ensure we are doing everything we can to prevent community transmission of the virus. The key word in that sentence is and. We need to reopen our economy and we need to be safe. The simple precaution of wearing a face covering is another effective tool to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Asymptomatic transmission is a real problem. People who have COVID-19 can unknowingly spread the virus to others before they have any visible symptoms. If everyone wearing a face covering, especially in the places where physical distancing is difficult, we can each do our part to protect each other. It's also very important to recognize face coverings don't replace the need for physical distancing. Keeping space around yourself and regularly washing your hands remain critically important steps to keep us all safe from contracting the virus. Objections have been raised to requiring the use of face coverings. I recognize that some people feel the new mandatory face mask order is an intrusion upon personal choice. We are all collectively dealing with a very rapidly evolving public health crisis. New information and new circumstances require new interventions. I believe the new public health order requiring face coverings is an appropriate response to the reality that more businesses are opening and people are mixing together to a much greater degree than during the strict shutdown. If we want to keep businesses open and protect our local economic recovery, we must also embrace and commit to this shared new responsibility. Face coverings are a simple gesture of shared respect to protect our neighbors. We are all in this together, and we will get through this together by taking care of each other. Our local nonprofit organizations have responded to COVID-19 with compassion, creativity, and commitment to serving neighbors in need. I'd like to highlight the amazing work of the United Boys and Girls Clubs of Santa Barbara County. Over the past 2 months, the United Boys and Girls Clubs have raised over $250,000 to provide services to youth and families in our community. Although kids cannot physically go to the Boys and Girls Clubs throughout the county, there are plenty of opportunities for kids to connect online. Homework help, social activities, and mentorship programs are being conducted remotely to ensure that local kids can thrive during this challenging time. Additionally, the United Boys and Girls Clubs have opened their doors to the Food Bank of Santa Barbara County to help ensure that food is accessible countywide. The United Boys and Girls Club have also used this time to make much-needed facility repairs. To accomplish this, many local contractors have generously donated their time to the Boys and Girls Club's Lend a Socially Distant Hand program. Thank you to everyone at the United Boys and Girls Clubs for working to serve local families and youth during this challenging time. If you'd like to support the efforts of the United Boys and Girls Club, please visit unitedbg.org. That's unitedbg.org. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Joe Reynoso, the county's public health director.
Thank you, Supervisor. As of today, we have 20 new community cases. This brings our county's total to 1,624, and none of these new cases are from the federal prison. Of the 1,624 cases, 1,396 have fully recovered. This means that 86% of our confirmed cases are fully recovered. Fully recovered means that they have no signs or symptoms and they have met their entire quarantine and isolation period. This trend is important because the risk of transmission from our confirmed cases is also declining. So thank you again, community members, for doing your part to practice physical distancing, hand washing, and wearing face covering when you are outside doing or giving essential services. As Supervisor Hart mentioned yesterday, we issued a health officer order that is in alignment with the guidance from the state for faith-based services and hair services at salons and barbershops. We're able to do this as a county because Santa Barbara County has met all of the state's criteria to do so. Places of worship and providers of religious services and cultural ceremonies may now provide in-person activities, but is limited to 25% of building capacity or a maximum of 100 attendees, whichever is lower. Places of worship, though, need to follow guidance as stated at our recoverysbc.org for a complete self-certification process to reopen. We are coming up on an important milestone in students' life, graduation. Because of the allowance in the governor's guidance for places of worship and providers of religious services and cultural ceremonies, we are now able to expand graduation activities. We support schools that are planning for graduations through streaming or other technology. But in addition, graduations may be provided in person if all of the following protocols are followed. All activity must occur outdoors. So long as social distancing of at least 6 feet is maintained at all times, graduates may be outside of their vehicles to walk across the stage, receive a diploma, award, or have their photo taken. Schools also may allow a smaller number of graduates to be out of their vehicles at a time. Schools may also assemble a graduation ceremony outside if the total number of attendees, including staff, graduates, guests, and any family members, is less than 100 people, and social distancing is maintained at all times. Dr. Ansorg will cover hair services in a few minutes. I want to conclude by saying that we are very supportive of reopening these activities in Santa Barbara County because we have been able to achieve stability as a community in our cases and our hospitalization. But in order to maintain this freedom and also be in a position to reopen additional services, we all need to be diligent in maintaining our social distancing, wearing our face coverings when interacting with others where social distancing is not possible, and of course, hand washing. Thank you for your continued support as we reopen our community together.
Thank you, Dr. Dornoso. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Henning Anzorg, the county's public health officer, who is here to provide some additional information about the recent public health orders.
Thank you, Supervisor Hart. Good afternoon, everyone. Now that more businesses have been opening since last Friday, we have seen an increase in instances and situations where people have not been keeping sufficient physical distance. This had us worried, and we subsequently decided to elevate our recommendation for face coverings to a mandate per health officer order, going into effect as of yesterday, May 26th. We do understand that there is scientific evidence both for and against the wearing of face coverings during a viral pandemic. However, we also know that while we are waiting for science to give us a definitive answer, we are well advised to use masks where appropriate because there's evidence that they can help to reduce the spread of the coronavirus by limiting droplets from the wearer. Let me remind you, though, that the most powerful and proven ways to prevent virus spread is social distancing and frequent hand washing. Wearing a face mask alone is not a proven method to prevent virus spread. However, it is helpful when used in conjunction with physical distance and excellent hygiene. Governor Newsom yesterday allowed hair salons and barbershops to open earlier than originally anticipated. Given our overall stability in case numbers, we felt comfortable to move forward with state's recommendations and issued a health officer order accordingly. Every hair salon and barbershop seeking to reopen is asked to complete a self-certification process on recoverysbc.org, ensuring they are following the mandated physical distancing and hygiene guidance outlined. Facial coverings must be worn at all times. Services that cannot be performed with a face covering on both the provider or hairdresser and the customer, or services that require touching of the customer's face are not allowed. Please remember, the virus pandemic is not over. It is still very important to practice social distancing and excellent hand hygiene and wear face coverings where asked to do so. I continue to encourage community members to get tested for COVID-19. You can go online to lhi.care/covidtesting.org or call 1-888-634-1123. Additionally, if you need some assistance in making your testing appointment, please call the Santa Barbara County Call Center for help in English or Spanish. The number is 1-833-688-5551. This testing option is available to all community members regardless of symptoms and free of charge. We do follow our case numbers, our hospitalization and testing trends very carefully on a daily basis. We watch for any upticks and warning signs for an increase in cases. This is important because the effect of our opening up on new COVID cases will only become apparent in 2 to 3 weeks. Let us all enjoy the gradual opening to a new normal life in a responsible and careful way. Thank you for your cooperation in keeping us all safe and well.
Thank you, Dr. Anzorg. I've also invited Kristen Miller, who's the president and CEO of the Santa Barbara and Goleta Chambers of Commerce, to talk about how local businesses around the county are working hard to safely reopen while protecting their employees and customers. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Kristen Miller, and for the past 18 years, I've been the president and CEO of the Goleta Chamber of Commerce, representing 450 businesses and 35,000 jobs in the region. As of the end of April, we have announced that I will have the honor of working with the Santa Barbara Chamber of Commerce in a merged organization. The expectation is that the new group will represent more than 1,000 members and many more jobs. The work of that is still unfolding and evolving, and we look forward to bringing even more value to the region as the voice of business during the crisis and beyond. Details and even a name of this new organization will follow soon, as our group had its first joint board meeting today. COVID-19 and the rapid onset of the hit to our economy made many decisions that businesses and chambers of commerce were contemplating urgent. One was to speed up the merger of our organizations. The other is that every single aspect of our operations and program of work changed. We began working closely with restaurants to keep as many as possible in business. Not only is this important work for our residents right now, but plays a big part in our quality of life in the future. We worked with manufacturers and technology businesses who can work remotely or differently to keep commerce going in those industries. And we have tried to support the lodging industry, who in an unfair situation is our biggest financial contributor to government funding and now forced to be at a complete standstill with their businesses. We started a weekly business leaders call to bring together industry leaders who need to quickly and efficiently take in new information and make new strategies for keeping jobs and the local economy moving. We began a weekly call with all of the chambers of commerce in the county to share best practices, contacts, information, and moral support. But perhaps most importantly, we began working with government in a new way, more closely and quickly than ever before in history. And that brings me to a big thank you to Supervisor Hart and his colleagues for recognizing that the economic costs of the crisis are profound and long-lasting, and that the challenge cannot be met without an active public-private partnership with business. The business community applauds our local government's response on many of our issues, including reopening, Memorial Day weekend, outdoor expansions, separating prison numbers from general population cases, and more. Participation in the RISE process has energized business to be more proactive on government issues. The process we used together to gather more than 200 business people in industry sector groups was fast, efficient, and productive. Everyone felt heard, and our collective feedback gave the county the information they needed to help us reopen in a safe way. The model of that communication process is one we are eager to continue in our collaborative relationship with the county and government. The economic crisis to local businesses cannot be overstated, but we are allowing ourselves to be excited about the changes it does bring, like opening up of State Street to pedestrian traffic and a new and innovative economic development program we're designing with the city to bring business recruitment back downtown. In closing, the role of business, all business, is vital to Santa Barbara County's economic recovery, and business welcomes and appreciates the county's full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. I truly appreciate the excellent collaborative work that you and all the chambers of commerce throughout the county are doing to bring business and government together. There has never been a moment when we have worked so quickly and collaboratively together, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll now go to questions from the room. Ms. Lair?
Before I ask a question, did I miss the hospitalizations?
Hospitalization.
And the ICU numbers? That wasn't.
We have 28 community members recovering in the hospital, and of that, 10 recovering in the ICU.
Thank you. And my first of two questions is to Dr. Ansord. Your counterpart in Santa Clara County has gone on record stating that he feels, or she feels, I'm not even sure the name of that person, that they're reopening too soon. And I'm just wondering, Do you feel that way, or what is your reaction to that?
Well, Santa Clara County is different from Santa Barbara County. That's, so we cannot compare them necessarily. Their cases are much larger in number. They have much more outbreaks in nursing homes and congregate settings than compared to us. So I do appreciate the concern from the health officials from our neighbors up north. And I would encourage us to not go any faster until we, in 2 weeks, see the results of this dramatic change. So I would very much urge everybody to sort of really enjoy this, but responsibly, and then in 2 weeks, let's reassess. How did this pan out, and can we go further? So I appreciate the concerns from the neighboring county, and but I'm still in favor of what we are doing.
And lastly, Dr. Van Der Rizino, so you said a few weeks back that you were asymptomatic, and it always confused me. Does that mean you had the coronavirus, and were not showing signs? And have you been tested lately, or any of you can shed light on that?
Sure. I think when that question came up pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic, right, in our county. And at that time, we had a very strict protocol on who is in the priority group. And at that time, the priority group was symptomatic healthcare workers, people in congregate living situations, and first responders. And at that time, I was not symptomatic, so I wasn't in the priority group. So I had declined at that time to get tested, just out of respect for that community set priority.
But you use the term asymptomatic to mean that people could have the virus and be spreading it.
Sure. So since then, a lot has changed, right? So at the beginning, because of the limited testing, we did prioritize symptomatic. And now with widespread testing, we are encouraging both symptomatics and asymptomatics to get tested.
And you've all been tested, I mean.
I have not. I need to carve some time out from my calendar to do so.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Molina?
My question's for Kristen Miller. I know you can't speak for all the businesses, but we had sort of this big weekend, and we had the opening of State Street. I'm wondering sort of maybe anecdotally what you may have heard as far as, was it enough for the businesses? Was it successful? Were people coming out? What are sort of the responses that the various business owners have shared with you in terms of how successful the Memorial Day weekend was for them?
Sure, thanks for asking. I think in general, we're pretty happy. This did feel like a process and a step that we were really ready for. And so the businesses that you saw open quickly over the weekend, it's really not quickly. They had been preparing for a while and were ready to go. So those businesses that were ready and could open, I think, saw a brisk business from people who are also feeling safe enough to go outside and to keep their social distance, but to be able to use those businesses. So in general, we're happy with the results. It seemed to go well, and we hope to keep taking incremental steps forward.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to questions on the phone.
We have none at this time, so that concludes our question session.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to remind everyone it is very easy and there is no cost to get tested for COVID-19. Testing slots are going unused in Lompoc and Santa Maria each day. And while testing slots in Santa Barbara are generally filled, you can easily get an appointment within just a few days. If you don't want to wait, you can go to get an appointment to go to any of the testing sites anywhere in the county. A COVID-19 test can give personal peace of mind and, perhaps more importantly, help the county public health department monitor the status of the virus in our community. The ability to quickly identify, isolate, and contain community spread of the virus, especially from asymptomatic people, is very important now as we enter this new phase with businesses reopening. There's no way to know if you have the virus before you show any symptoms other than by getting a simple nasal swab test. It's free, it's quick, and it's highly accurate. Please take time to get tested. It can help a great deal in the effort to box in the virus. The COVID-19 symptoms to pay special attention to are cough, shortness of breath, fever, chills, muscle pain, sore throat, or a new loss of taste or smell. If you have any of these COVID-19 symptoms, please don't go out. Isolate yourself at home and wait a few days to see if the symptoms go away quickly. If the symptoms stop, that would be an ideal time to get tested to make sure you aren't carrying the virus. To schedule an appointment to get tested, please call 888-634-1123. As always, please continue to practice these 3 simple personal steps every day. Number 1, remember to wear a face covering and stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Number 2, wash your hands often, don't touch your face, and disinfect surfaces regularly. Number 3, if you feel sick, stay home and isolate yourself. If your symptoms worsen, call your doctor or clinic and follow their medical advice. Our next press conference will be Friday at 4:30 p.m. If you have any questions, call the county's call center number at 833-688-5551. Please continue to be considerate, kind, and safe. And thank you for joining us today.